All right. Hey, Abs, how's it going?
Going good. How are you?
Going good. You just say that. It's like the
Yeah,
knee-jerk
well, because I
reaction.
can't
How's it
tell.
going? It's
Can't.
going great.
Well, it's going all right today. I can't really delve into the details of my life,
I know
unfortunately.
listeners are like, when is she going to crack? And we're going to hear all the
We're gonna
juice.
do. You're gonna finally get to interview me, and it'll be all the juicy gossip,
Lovely. Can't wait.
starting from 1995.
Could be a year out.
Yeah, the Chronicles.
Yeah.
So, what's
Coming
going on
soon
your
to a
end?
podcast near you.
Exactly.
Define
What's going
soon.
on?
What's going on? And it's funny, I've got your picture of Robert Smith staring at me.
Ah,
The
I love
spookiest
that
picture
one.
in the basement.
It's great. It's a great picture. I like that one.
Yeah.
So I feel like we haven't connected for a while. What's new?
Yeah, well, you did that reality show.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
I don't know, is new. I don't know. I was just I did a Thanksgiving post yesterday. I was mountain biking up in the mountains, and I thought, oh, I'm just gonna, because I forget, and then it'll be past, and I'll be like, shit, I should have said something. But just kind of remembering 2 years ago, the accident almost took my life, and
Wow, 2 years. Was that the anniversary?
it was Thanksgiving Day, so Thanksgiving will never be the same for sure.
No. Well, you will be thankful.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
God's like, you're not quite thankful enough. Here, try this on for size. There you go.
Ungrateful brat.
It's like thankful meter. Beep, 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 beep.
I'll
He's
give you
thankful
something to be
again.
thankful for.
Yeah. You think it's, yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway,
So,
I did a sentimental post and just said, yeah, thankful for my neighbor and for Gabe and for all the people you came me out and mom and all that stuff. So it's crazy how time flies. That was 2 years ago.
2 years ago. That's incredible.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And do you feel for the most part you're totally healed from that?
No.
What's the ongoing?
Well, the ongoing is just like this arm is so atrophied. So it's like if I go like this in the mirror, this bicep's like fairly decent size, and this is like looks like Gabe's.
Is it underneath? You've got it underneath now. Bingo.
Yeah,
wings.
there's like this little like prepubescent bump on my arm. It's like completely different arms.
So you've lost muscle tone completely?
Muscle mass, muscle tone, like arm mass. Like the mass is gone because it got. Remember there was that big wound up here, up really high that just wouldn't heal.
Yeah.
And so all the stitches were kind of healed, and there was that inflammation that was the problem. But up here kind of got ignored by the surgeon, and it's like someone put an elastic band around my arm and tightened it up, like it's got, because I think my arm got twisted. So it's like kind of like a rug burn type of,
right.
So it twisted my arm to kind of like stop it from showing mass. But like I go to the gym and like 4 times a week, and I'm literally tiptoeing around or rehabilitating 4 different accidents, like my broken back, my broken wrist, and my arm. So, I'm doing like bench with dumbbells or tricep curls. Triceps are my hardest one, like my weakest is like a tricep curl. So on this arm, I can only do 15 pounds. On this arm, I could easily do 30 to 35. I'm like, oh, balance. I'll do 20 on this arm and 50 on this arm. And then some guy comes up to me after I've done a set, and he's like, why have you got 2 different dumbbells? Like I pulled up my sleeve. He's like, oh, okay.
Oh, right.
And then when I'm done, I can't get off the bench because I got a broken back, or I'm recovering. So then I have to roll sideways off the bench. So yeah, it's humbling.
So the broken back ongoing issue, is it still very stiff?
Yeah, it's good days and bad days, but usually 5 o'clock in the evening, I can really feel it. And I've got all these exercises, which is so time consuming to do. One of them, it's funny because one of the exercises is called the body wave. So it's quite sensual in a way, because it's like you're doing this wave down your body. It's actually quite difficult to do. If you leant your back against a wall, you put your shoulders, or this is the wall, you put your shoulders against the wall, and then my back doesn't arch, and then each vertebrae hits the wall, and then last is your bum. And so you do this wave like that. But if you do that at the gym,
it looks pretty sketchy.
I have to find a dark corner to do it. And then the other one is like a kind of like a hip one, where you move your hips like
yeah. Mind you,
And
you
it
see such weird people at the gym. Just anyone over 60 doesn't give a fuck anymore.
yeah, I
I
know,
we
my
used to
kids are
have
so
this.
embarrassed when I do it.
Oh, when I do it, when I go to the gym with my kids, they'll come up to me and go, "No, no, 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 no. Your technique is so off. Like, we'll show you how it's done." And they'll
Mm,
tell me how to do, because they study, they'll be looking on TikTok and studying a move and know, just so different from how we grew up, like they actually can
mm,
do deep dive, and they look at me and they're just like, "Oh God, no, 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 this is not right." And I'll say, "Yeah, but just admit it. I'm the most ripped woman in here over 40." And they're like, "Yeah, you are." And I don't do it. I'm half-assed, but I swear it's what's it called? What do I take that's really, really cool?
steroids.
Creatine. No,
Oh, really?
creatine. So ever since I started taking creatine, the muscle tone has just gone off the Richter. It's just shredded. And
Really?
I plateau at the gym. If you were to see me, you'd be just like, how is this working? Because I'm not one, I do the same rotation. I'm not one to really try a new piece of machinery without someone showing me exactly how it's done.
Mm.
And so I tend to stick to my circuit way too much.
Yeah, because you gotta shock your muscles, right, by doing new ones.
I hate it. So
Uh,
I do it, I do the bare minimum to get by. And it's, 3 times a week, 40 minutes. And they're all weight resistance. I'm doing what I should be doing, but I'm
yeah,
just not,
changing it
oh,
up.
let me add another this, let me add it. I just tend to plateau.
Mm.
And
It's
and the
not bad though. I
creatine's
mean, yeah, and the creatine's working. I should take that. I
uh,
don't take that. Does it add mass to you or just tone?
you
It
just
can't add
become
tone.
shredded. Like I was, my girls, we were looking in the mirror. They're like, "Oh, look, mum," and I said, "Oh yeah, what?" And all of this, obviously, the lighting has to be right to see it, but you can see the muscle tone where it's become all these bumps.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I haven't. I started taking creatine about 6 months ago. Haven't changed my regime whatsoever. And it's
Mm.
just this kind of, when you talk about farm fit, you know how you talk about farm strong? That's it.
Yeah.
To me, that's that shredded, lean, no fat. And
Mm,
actually, it's a bit gaunt. Like for my age, I'd probably look better with a bit more weight on me. But I
mm.
think it does do that shredding thing. I don't know the science behind it, but every time I see a reel that talks about, if you're a woman over 40, creatine, creatine, creatine.
Really? So you
And it's
take one
got
scoop?
some, I take one scoop and I put it in my bulletproof
Oh,
because it
every
doesn't have
morning.
any flavor every morning. And there is controversy, like some people say it's basically dehydrating
Oh.
it, it's kind of like taking water from your system, and so you need to drink a lot more, and I don't.
Mm.
So but I notice a distinct difference.
It's
I
weird when
just
you get older, you want a bit more like, when you look at people who are a little heavier set getting older, they look better than the skinny
They
ones
do, they
getting
do.
like, you look all skeletal, right?
Or the
And
worst is when you've been heavy, you lose 50 pounds and you look so haggard and gaunt.
mm,
When and yet you're healthier, but the face just starts to get drawn, and that
yeah,
skeletal. Because I think as we age, our eyeballs sink further into our skull, so your eyes look smaller. That's
black
where
around.
that kind of ring, and you're just like, it's just like this
Yeah, it's like
vacuum effect.
I was cycling with a friend. We were biking, and he's like, we had a hard ride. Like, we went out the other day, and it was pissing rain, and we went out for 2 hours hard riding. It was crazy. But the day before, it was a hot one or whatever, and he's like, "Do you find like you smell more, like the older you get, or like smell and sweat more, you know?" And I'm
Okay,
like,
yeah,
"Yeah, a little bit." And I said, "Well, we're kind of rotting, right?"
yeah.
And he's like, "Yeah, I guess we are. We're starting to decompose. It's a slow, it's like a slow pull into the grave.
Into the ground. I mean, literally gravity. That's
Gravity
what
is,
it is it pulling us towards the earth, and
yeah,
and we don't have enough buoyancy in our skin anymore to resist it. It's like from day one,
yeah,
unless you've got that what do they call it? What you know,
Botox.
as a young child, you've got that kind of, your skin is not loose, it's tight. but
Yeah,
you're
yeah, yeah. You get that
constantly
chemical.
defying gravity. And then you get to our age, it's just like this
Yeah.
suction towards the
Or
earth.
it's like, "We're taking you back. Here we go.
Yeah.
You cannot fight it."
It's such a weird thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But,
I
yeah, it
know,
seems
it's
to be put
humbling.
having a bit of weight, the older you get is actually better.
I think so.
Aesthetically, maybe. I don't know. I
Well, it
mean,
fills out the crinkles, doesn't it?
yeah,
Basically, the weight when you're a little bit, carrying a little bit more weight, you fill out the crinkles.
yeah. Was it
Yeah.
like some of the old like I saw like Rob Lowe the other day, and he's looking a bit gaunt,
Mm.
and what's his name from Take That?
Robbie Williams.
Robbie Williams, yeah.
But it's because
But
they're all on Ozempic, and Ozempic takes the muscle and the fat out of your face and gives you this really skeletal look. So I pretty much, because I think Robbie Williams has admitted to being on it because he's always struggled with his weight and now he's really lean. But it
he
seems to
doesn't
be
look
that
well.
almost, no, it doesn't look great.
It's funny
And the
because
trouble is, they're all going to have osteoporosis before long because they don't have muscle mass, therefore their bones will become more brittle on Ozempic. That's one of the long-term side effects is osteoporosis.
Hmm. Yeah, when he looks in the mirror, he sees all the parts that drove him crazy his whole life diminishing. But when the
Mm,
general public, because you see different when you look in the mirror, you see what you see, right, through the lens of
mm.
your own insecurities, and but you don't. Every so often, I'll see a picture of myself, and I'll be like, "Oh, that's how I look."
Oh dear.
Oh dear.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, but I don't. It's like if you don't look in the mirror all the time, you just look at it in the
Mm.
morning when you brush your teeth, and in the evening when you brush your teeth. You know, you kind of put your best face on almost subconsciously,
Yeah.
and
Mm.
yeah, every so often
You're
you
none
see,
the wiser.
oh, I'm really
Like
wrinkly.
mum says, "Oh darling, the last thing you want at my age is 20/20 vision." I think you
Yeah,
get to an age where you just don't look at yourself, where you
yeah,
just go, you know what, I'd rather not. I'll feel more confident if I just don't look at myself.
yeah.
It's really humbling though.
I've been watching these on YouTube. There's this guy that I think I sent you a few. These old people that he interviews,
No, don't
they're
think
like in their
so.
80s or 90s,
Oh yeah, I
and
saw one of them. Yeah.
yeah, I think it's from South Africa because they all have a South African accent, but they're all like really beautifully edited, and you know, it's kind of like. But most of the people he interviews are living a simple life. They're very old, living a simple life, but they don't have children. I mean, there are some with children, but a lot of the people I've seen so far. But then he interviews a whole bunch of women, like older women, and
Is is the premise asking them what their secret is to a long life
no, just
to
kind
the
of like
audience?
he says like, you know, if you could look back at your younger self, would you do anything differently? You know, you know, how does it feel to be your age? And you know, what does it feel like every time you wake up in the morning? And you know, one lady had a great perspective, and you know, she used to be a very accomplished skier, and yeah, she's just like, you know, every day is an adventure, and she just sees it as an adventure. And but she goes, you know, and she said you have these funny illusions that when you're older all your kids are going to be around you and it's going to be this big family
Mm,
time. And she goes, yeah, I got a daughter that lives like an hour away, and I see her maybe once a month, and my other child is too busy to come see me. And you know, so that wasn't really true, and I've had to,
mm,
you know, make friends and make my own community.
mm,
And then there's some guys like this one guy who restores old instruments in England, I think it was England, but he just has like the only appliance in his house that is electric is his fridge, and he just lives a really simple. A lot of these people live very, very simple lives,
mm,
kind of like what Mum's doing, you know. And
mm.
for all the criticism we have, maybe in a joking way, like I often boast about how Mum is still what, she's 70. How old is she?
At least 75.
75. She's still going for adventure. She's spending the scraps of her money on a flight to New Zealand, living in a trailer with no electricity on the
Hmm.
beach, you
Yeah.
know. And part of you can look at that and think, well, you should have some more luxuries around, and you know, and it's like, well, how would that look if Mum was had more money? You know, she probably would not go and live in that little trailer. She would live in a house, and you know, she's still seeking adventure at an old age. I think it's really admirable.
Yeah, it's been 19 years. She's been going to New Zealand every winter for 19 years.
Yeah, with a beat up old car that leaks oil, she has
Mm.
to walk half an hour to use the bathroom.
She has to collect
You
her own water
collect her own
in
water.
New
She
Zealand.
bathes in the river.
Yeah, well, in the ocean, she goes swimming in the ocean every day. Very
Yeah,
simple off-grid life. And I think she spends a lot of time alone there.
yeah.
And I think she's quite comfortable being alone. And I think that is the biggest. I saw the other day someone say, if you can eat alone and sleep alone and be okay with your own company, there's nothing that can get to you. And I
Mm,
just thought, oh, I've got some work to do there. Because when you say about these older people not seeing their children, and I just feel like, because right
mm,
now, when the kids aren't around, when I'm home alone, like they just went to England for 2 weeks, and it was the first couple of days were really tough, psychologically
yeah.
tough. But also, you're swinging from full house to empty house.
Mhm,
And I have to keep reminding myself what's changed.
mm,
It's only the story in my head that's changed because I spend a lot of time alone anyway. But psychologically, I feel comforted. Or I'll pick them up at 3 from school.
mm.
But
The
even when
structure.
they're in the home, they're off doing their own thing. But I think that coming to terms with aloneness has to be one of the most biggest journeys that any of us would have to make, because eventually that's going to be a reality, probably for
Mhm.
almost all of us. And even if it's
Yeah.
not, you're going to spend chunks of time alone. Like that is coming to terms with that, making your peace with it. That is, I know, a really big thing for me.
Yeah, and the busyness and the schedule, it gives you, it kind of numbs maybe the pain or looking at yourself. It's like, well, I've got to pick the kids up at 3, and then we got to go to the gym. You fill your
Mm,
life with this noise, and it kind of kicks the can down the road of having to deal with your own shit in a way. And then when they're gone,
mm,
I mean, I remember when I was going through a divorce with Jen, and I was in that apartment downtown, and I was in a band, and the world was it was like there was so many opportunities to go and have fun, but the emptiness. And I'd have
mm,
girls stay over, and I would sneak out of bed in the night and go and sleep on the floor where my kids would sleep with their toys. And the
mm,
girls were like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "I'm sorry,
mm,
I have to." I had this like, they said there's a God-shaped hole in your in your life
mm.
until he fills it, like that whole preacher
Yeah.
thing. I felt that was a kid-sized hole in me. Every time
Mm,
they left, I'd be like this, and I don't know.
mm,
It wasn't that I missed their company. I think it was with them not there, I felt a sense of, I don't know. It was like sort of loneliness, but not complete or something. It
mm,
felt like I was naked, or maybe insecurity of, oh, you're not being a good father, or you're not there to protect them. I don't know what it was, because I could see them. They were only 10 minutes up the road, like 20 minutes up the
mm.
road. Um, but this empty feeling was so heavy.
And that's it's all psychological. You just, in the reality, you're just in a room and you happen to be the only person in that room. When I talk about, I've spent most of my life walking through rooms and driving my car. Basically, I spend most of my life walking through rooms and driving my car. That makes up at least 70% of my life.
Mhm.
And mostly I'm in the car on my own.
Mm,
And a lot of times I'm walking through rooms on my own.
mm.
And that is the sum of my outward existence. From the outside, that's what my life looks like. Getting in and out of cars constantly, in, out, in, because with kids, you're just constantly,
Yeah.
right, back in the car again.
I know, drive to dance. Oh, come oh, Gabe wants to go swimming.
Ah,
Got back. Oh, no, so and so.
right. And it's this little
I
GPS of
know.
ping pong, like that original tennis game that we never had, but that was
Yeah.
the first video game that existed.
Pong.
Yeah, and I just think that has been my existence outwardly. If you followed me around with a camera, that's what my life looks like. And
Yeah.
just because children aren't there, actually very little has changed, because most of the time it's not like they're sitting on my lap. They're doing their own thing in their own room, or, going to work and whatever they at school. But it creates this kind
Yeah.
of backdrop of what we're here for, and family. I think what you speak to me, is the absence of family. When you've invested in that and that's become the tapestry of your life, and then you go for a separation. I mean, I'm going through it now. I would liken it to a tearing of a muscle rather than a clean, straight sever. It's like
Mm,
a vital
mm,
organ is being cut out of you. And it doesn't matter how
mhm.
dysfunctional and enmeshed that relationship is, you've become, that relationship has become like a vital organ in your life. And now you're not cutting it out, you're ripping it out. And there's something about it that feels
Yeah.
so unnatural. It is not a natural thing to
It
be
isn't.
enmeshed and then unenmeshed. And it's
No.
very odd to
No, I
do
mean,
that.
if you go back to, like, hunter-gatherer, right, that just wouldn't exist. Like, you would be born, live, and then die in mostly with the same community, your aunts, your uncles, your cousins, and now modern day, there's travel was introduced.
Mm,
Before planes were and boats, that would just be mostly your life, right? You'd end up you might hate each other and kind of separate yourself in the same city or the same community, but now that travel and you have the scenario that Mum's got where all her family are dispersed around the world,
mm,
and it's not. It doesn't feel natural because you can't quite put your finger on what's wrong, but something is wrong.
mm,
Like Sophie reached out to me the other day, and was like, "Hey,
mm,
we haven't connected in years, and I've listened to your podcast, and this is silly. We should talk more." And it's like, holy shit, like you can put your siblings in this form of ketosis and just
mm,
put it on ice.
mm,
And it doesn't feel right. Something doesn't feel right
mm,
about it, but it just is what it is. I mean, Raven and Jasmine, my older kids who, we live in it's a broken marriage scenario. It's a very, often I think about like I A B those guys with how Gabe and Amelia are living in a kind of somewhat stable home. And there's a difference for sure,
mm.
like, and
Yeah.
I don't think Jazz and Rave kind of walk around thinking, "Oh, we had it." I think they're just getting on with their lives. It
Well,
just is
they
what it
don't know any
is.
different. They don't know any
They don't know
different.
any different, and thankfully, they've never poked at Gabe and Amelia saying, "We never got that," and you guys,
Mm,
they've always been really encouraging,
that's
which
amazing.
is I'm really grateful for. But I feel a bit, sad about that, I think, and yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
yeah, it's not normal, especially at your kid's age, to have them torn from you, and I mean, it's
Mm.
bonkers, like,
Yeah.
yeah,
It goes against
so
everything that you have instinct wise from a nurturing perspective. So I was talking to this Polish girl the other day, and she had the coordinates of her parents' home in Poland tattooed
mm,
on her arm.
mm.
And I joked and I said, yeah, but what if they move house or it
Got a
gets
new tattoo.
demolished? Yeah. What if it gets demolished and it turns into a gas station there? And she says, you don't understand. In Poland, that house has been in our family for 300 years. It will
Mm,
never sell.
mm,
And I was like, what? She said, what happens is in Poland, the parents live on the main floor and their parents live in the basement. And then the parents, when their children grow up and the parents in the basement die, they move into the basement and the children take over the running of the home.
mm,
So the family stays in this rotation. And
mm,
generally, it's the daughters that inherit the home because the sons will move into their wife's parents' home.
mm,
And there is real estate just doesn't exist in Poland the way it does here. You don't, the average owner spends 3 to 5 years in a house and then they sell it. That's normal
mm,
in Canada, right?
mm,
5 years apparently is the average. She said in Poland, people don't buy houses. You live in the house that's been in your family for hundreds of years.
mm,
So these coordinates will never
mm,
change. Like that's always going to be our family home. And then you realize that, Asians and like every culture apart from like Europe and North America have this communal, like the Lebanese community,
mm,
Eastern European, even in Poland, which is in Europe. Oh, we're missing out on this multi-generational interdependency. Let's pay off this mortgage together. And then as the parents get older, they remain in the home and we look after them.
mm.
And I'm sure that comes with heartache and pain in the ass, situations, but they accept that that's part of their culture. Like in Japan, there's no such thing as old people's homes because they always look after their elderly.
Yeah, I know.
And we just want this
Oh
independence.
yeah, we're like, get outside my walls. Like,
Yeah.
don't pop in. Can I
Yeah.
come over for dinner? No, we just want private. We just want. Oh yeah, we're so protective over. I mean, I
Yeah.
notice it in my interactions with Tara. Like, we've got some friends down the road who we're like, we should have a dinner. Like, have them over for dinner, and it's just like, I got to look at my schedule,
Mm.
unpack the schedule. I can slot them in like 3 weeks from now.
Yeah.
And it's like, because we're waiting for the perfect time when there's nothing else going on. Whereas in Europe, it's like, yeah, just come over in the middle of the chaos and we'll
Yeah.
figure it out. And they'll help change the baby and cut the grass.
Yeah.
And you know what I mean? I think I miss
Yeah.
that about when I talk about my friendships, UK friendships, where I go and see Alex and we would just be like, what are you doing today? I'm fixing my truck. Oh, and then you just kind of like, you come in behind that and you just chip in, and then so I end up helping him do whatever he's doing or vice versa. Whereas when I moved here, it was like entertain, it has to be a
Mm.
chiseled out slot for just me and you.
Mm.
Um,
I
uh,
don't think I don't think if we had grown up to maturity in England,
don't think it's like
I
that
don't think
anymore.
it would be any. No, I mean, not when, when I talk to Martha, it's probably more isolated than it is here.
Yeah.
I think the difference is, had you stayed in Launceston and you had your pub and your people and you were now raising a family, you would have multi-layered community that you'd had for decades. And the transient, like Martha says, it's so strange hearing about how Canadians live, where we'll just kind of move to a different part of the country. If you think of that, wouldn't happen in England as much. You wouldn't just leave to go up. Oh, we've decided to move to Nottingham. Why would you do that?
Yeah,
It
I
doesn't
know.
make any sense.
I tell people that I never went. How you must have gone to London all the time. I'm like, once.
Never.
Yeah, it's
It's
like
4 hours
what?
away. I
Well, the
know.
gas is expensive.
Yeah, like, have you ever been to Manchester? Never. Liverpool? Never.
Yeah,
Birmingham? Never. Like, literally never, 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 to just
yeah.
so many places in England, and all of them are in a 4 to 5 hour drive.
Hmm.
But you stay in your little thing, and I think by our age, by 50, if you'd stayed there, and some people go to the pub every day before they go home.
Hmm.
So they leave work, go to the pub for a pint, and
Mm.
then go home.
Yeah, I used to love that, the countrymen. They'd
Yeah, like
know
you
they'd
had
know what
that.
they were pouring your beer when you walked in the pub before you even got to the pub bar, because Joby's here and this is what he always has.
I
So your
mean,
beer
that
is just
sense of
sitting there.
belonging.
Yeah, but it's like you don't. Well, I wanted to I interviewed a client of mine the other day, and it was like super rare. I was like, hey, would you mind jumping on a pod? Yeah, just quick interview and why you hired Little Star, and he's this guy from India, and this is the 5th reno we've done on his old falling apart home. And he said something that was really surprising to me because he lives in a very, very affluent part of Vancouver. And he's like, I'm tired. I don't know why people treat their homes like an investment piece. Because we were like, why do you keep fixing up? We were laughing about the fact that we're fixing up this old home. And he's like, it's our home. This is our home. It's not, he's like, I walk around my neighborhood and the whole neighborhood has changed because everyone views their home as a piece of investment property. And so
Right.
they're changing it and knocking it down and rebuilding a modern one and then move and then and the whole lens they're looking at through is what I can get on return for investment. He goes, this is just our home.
Mm,
It's not an investment piece. If I want to invest, he goes, if you want to invest, go play the stock market, but don't
mm,
do it with your home. I'm like, whoa, uh, interesting. Like, and he's a doctor,
mm,
but
hmm,
he lives in the house with his mom, and they just had a
mm.
baby, and now there's a baby in the house, and it's his mom's like, my mom's like reborn now because there's a baby around. But yeah, I thought that was an interesting
Mm.
perspective from him. It's just like, this is just like our home. I guess it's like very, very different than how we
So
view.
basically, what he's saying is, make it how you want it to be, but don't do. It's all about the motivation. Don't do it because it's going to be worth 50 grand more if we do this. If we put a new
I
bathroom
guess,
in,
I
it will be
guess
worth
so.
more.
Yeah. I mean, I've always done that with North Van House. And even Gambier. I just built it because I loved the
Mm,
process, but I never ever thought this is what I can get when I sell it. When I
mm,
did have to sell it, all the love I put into it was really recognized
mm,
because it was really personalized. And even with
Yeah.
this farm, sometimes I'm like, what am I doing? And then every so often I'll stand back and I'll be like, well, yeah, but you've just doubled the value of your property, all this
Mm.
work you've done for the last 2.5 years. Because
Yeah.
I'll keep thinking the farm isn't making money. But to a
Right.
lot of people, all the work you've done is just that's the whole thing. You've just, but I
Mm.
don't think like that. And then every so often I'll take a step back and think, no, you are doing that because your property is probably doubled in value by all the upgrades you've done to it. But
You just can't access it. You're sitting on
yeah,
a pot of gold, basically, but it's not necessarily working for you today. It's
right.
working for you in the future. But if this was your forever home, the only way you could access by that is, refinance it in 5 years, or
Yeah.
you
I mean,
know.
we've got when a client says to me, and I've got one I'm trying to get right now, and when they say this, we want this to be our forever home, I just love to hear those words.
Mm.
'Cause
Yeah.
it's a completely different lens to see,
Mm.
there are a couple with no kids yet, but then you got to project. You are going to probably have children, so let's do
Mm.
the design and it's a completely different, like, whereas you get the other client that's like, oh, but I don't know if I'm going to get that back if I sell it, so I'm not going to do that because we
Right.
won't get it back. I think the way I see a home rebuild is like, I just love the creative process. So putting the money into it it's like, I don't know. It's like it doesn't even come into my. I mean, obviously,
Yeah.
I have a limited amount of money, but it's like
Mm.
if it's gonna make it look that cool, I'll go the extra mile to,
Yeah.
like I'm building a shed right now and I'm milling all the lumber up, but I'm burning all the wood, which takes a long time. But I
Mm.
can't. And then people come over and they'll be like, "Oh my God, you just made a shed look like super cool and creative." And I'm like, I'm like, I can't not do it because
Mm.
it's just labor. And if there's an,
Yeah.
if it's going to look that much better, I just can't not do that. Like it's
So
impossible
this
for
is a shed to house logs that you burn in your fireplace.
It's a
It's a wood
workshop.
shed.
It's a workshop and an implement shed for like
Mm.
tractors and stuff like that. And all the
Okay.
wood that I've milled, I burnt it with a big torch. So it all kind of looks like
Oh,
slightly blackened.
so when you say but I was picturing you just burning it on a fire. So you've given it this burnt effect.
Yeah. Which
Yeah,
takes a lot of
okay,
extra
interesting.
time. I'm gonna stop building
Right,
it as
right,
a
right.
function. And as soon as I figured out how to do it and how it would look, I'm like, yeah, I can't not do that. It's
Mm.
just not, I just can't.
That's the trouble when you've had the thought, you're like, God damn it, I've just created so much work, but I have to do this now.
Yeah, I know.
Because the seed has been. I watched 5 hours last night of House and Gardens on YouTube, which is English homes.
Oh,
Um, and do you know what really hit me? Because this is like cottages, thatched roofs, the
mm.
cottage garden, which is just jam packed full of
And
flowers.
the birds singing in the
Oh my gosh.
background.
And the bumblebees, because it's foxgloves and it's all these kind of, English hedgerow and the poppies.
Yeah.
And what was interesting as I watched, it's so different from here. Like the philosophy is so different. You
Mm,
go in there and it's just very cluttered, very, everything has, lots of art. Like these people, art is so important, like collecting art. And I've just realized it really hit me how, here it's Winners, or in English, like TJ Maxx, but the kind of, I can go into a home and I'm like IKEA, Winners, Home Depot. I can recognize where everything's come from.
mm,
It's all very temporary and it's all very trendy.
mm,
And it will have that certain look of the last 5 years. That's what's been in. And then you look at these homes, there's nothing in there that isn't a one-off, one of a kind. We were in south of France. We went to this flea market and I picked up this piece of pottery. And these people, like, these are my friends. Like, they'll talk about how I love
mm,
sitting in here in the evening because even if I'm alone, I'm looking at objects and art that means
mm,
something to me. And it just makes me feel like I'm in the company of friends. And I just was like, I have been immersed in North American culture for so long that I've forgotten and I think mum's really good at this. My kids, they just went to see her, walked around her home. And to them, it's just this delightful experience of unique, well, of course that belonged to your great great grandmother and da, 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 and there's a story
mm,
behind each object. And I know in our modern homes that are full of windows, there's barely any wall space. It's actually quite challenging to have room for any of that. One
yeah.
day, if we inherit mum's stuff, I don't know how. How? Like, where are we going to put these huge pieces of
You got one,
furniture?
2 words: bonfire.
I think I'm changing in
It's funny, eh?
I am. I look at it and I appreciate that that to me looks more like a home than the homes
Mm,
that I walk into here. That
mm,
literally, if these homes burnt to the ground, you can replace everything
yeah,
here. Just go to Winners, go to IKEA, go to Homeware Hard Restoration, whatever restoration warehouse, and within 6 months it will look identical.
yeah. Yeah, it's the older you get, the pull back to, because I remember leaving England and I was just like, I hated everything about it, and I was just so like so glad to shake that off.
Mm.
And then you come full circle to just wanting,
Yeah.
I mean, what would
Hey,
it feel
Mum, have
like
you
to have
got
a
that?
little, like, Langor, where Boo used to live, this little
Oh
thatched
my
old
goodness.
cottage, and like hear the grandfather clock when you walk in. I mean, I could
Yeah,
smell that house.
yeah.
And yeah, it's
It's nostalgia. The little light switches, just everything was small and creaky, and they would have every meal. They would have napkins in
oh yeah.
silver little,
And three knives, 3 spoons, 3 forks.
yeah, always formal, like so formal,
Yeah,
like a proper cotton napkin in a
I know.
cotton a ring, a napkin. I don't even know what you call them, and it would
Yeah,
have been
remember
silver, and they would polish the silver.
we go over to Kena Penbo's for lunch on like a Wednesday, and it was like, yeah, 3 knives, 3 spoons, 3 forks. It was like Christmas dinner. And then
Yeah,
I'm like, I'll be working on the phone and I'll come in and I'll throw a steak in the air fryer and eat it on the way out the door, literally. I'm like, I'll just grab a steak and eat it while I go back out and do stuff. And there's no sanctity, right? There's no like
yeah.
yeah. It
Well,
yeah,
Boo,
it's
our
weird,
grandmother,
weird.
she used to make crab paste, and she would empty out the entire crab, make the paste, and then put it all back in the crab shell and present it as a crab that was filled with the crab filling that she had made. But she made it into a piece of
Mm,
art. It took
I know.
hours, like so many hours to do that kind of stuff. And the
Yeah,
kind of
I think Canada and America is still um finding its feet, right? It's just still trying to figure out who it is. Like
mm,
England and Europe is, it already has its identity. It is. I mean, I don't
yeah,
know what it's like anymore with all of the, I think that's why there's so many England, there's massive problems and like demonstrations on the street, because the British people are like, where's our country gone? Because they've just opened the doors to all of these immigrants and they feel like they've lost their culture,
mm,
which is kind of a serious thing for such a
mm,
steeped culture like that. But I've always felt like in Canada, I mean, you go down any street and then the house gets kind of like a little old and they just level it and build a new one.
mm, yeah,
And I'm like, the reason you go to Europe to look at the history is because they didn't do that.
mm,
They built to last hundreds and hundreds of years from the start. So if you
mm,
keep doing this, you will just keep starting at zero again, because
mm,
that's what you're doing. You're like,
yeah,
throw everything off the table, start building
mm,
again. Looks old. Throw everything off the table. Why don't you build
yeah,
to last? And then you'll actually have your own history, but you
yeah,
keep resetting by
yeah,
leveling everything and building these like things that have only got a lifespan of 80 years,
yeah,
and then they start to look ratty. And
yeah,
where I remember the log home that I lived in North Van, because I still had that entrenched in me to and I still love it to this day. Like, I pushed down a shed the other day. I was pulling all the nails
mm,
and to reuse the wood, and I was listening to this voice in my head of friends coming over saying, "What the hell are you doing? Like, you just go buy a new 2x4." And
yeah,
I was like, well, one, I can't afford to always, like, it's wasteful, but two, I actually
mm,
get a little bit of pleasure out of
mm,
making something last a little bit longer and giving it a
mm,
new, I mean, it's why I've had old boats that I've restored, old RVs, old houses.
mm,
But North Van house, most people would just push that over. But
mm.
I
Gosh,
just
thank God you
got
didn't.
a I got so much pleasure out of just like the challenge of fixing it up and giving it a new 100 years of life.
Mm,
It just came naturally to me. But a lot of people look at it and think that because
yeah,
they see it through the lens of dollars and cents always. Well, if you look
mm,
at the amount of labor, and if you put your labor
mm,
at so and so an hour, you're going to spend twice as much time building
yeah,
it. And to me, I don't see things like that. Like if I want to make a piece of art, it's going to take twice as long as if I don't make it artistic. I will gladly do it the long way around if it means it's going to look
Mm,
more authentic and artistic. And it's just the way I think, I guess. Whereas a lot of people think, oh, your times were more like think of all the time you weren't on that. You could just spend sitting on your deck getting a suntan.
mm, mm. Yeah. Well, that's the creative nature. I do think it exists here because I'm sure certain places of Canada, but when I used to go to Montana and I walk into someone's home who've really embraced the First Nation Native American art and the
Mm,
Aztec kind of wool blankets, and I would get the same feeling from that as I do with these cottages in England. I think what it is that's authentic in Montana to, the oldest culture that we know of here, and that
mm,
real kind of cabin, like old America, where they do it really, really well. And you can walk into a place and it's just got the wool blankets, it's got the arrowheads that have been found,
Aztec
it's
type
got,
of, yeah.
yeah, the native, the beadwork, the little papooses and the bags with beads
Mm,
on it. And I get I would do a home like that in a heartbeat. It's
mm,
and the leather and the cow hides and the deer hide and the reindeer hides and that kind
mm,
of that to me, I really appreciate that as well.
mm,
It's anything that I think what I'm realizing, and just in the last few days, and also I just went to Toronto and I went to Dundas, which is definitely a more upmarket town, and all
mm,
of the homes were red brick,
mm,
beautiful historical homes with they put
mm,
so much effort into their yards there.
mm,
And I thought, Canada, you can do this. Look, here it is. It's like when you go to old Quebec City, like, there's
mm,
no excuse. I thought, oh, it goes to -20 in the winter. Nothing's going to, you can't live in a brick home. It won't do well. That's not true at all. They just don't want to it's too expensive, or they don't value putting money into something like you say. We're just going to, in Nova Scotia, it's almost all just plastic siding. Like if you piled up the ingredients of a home here, it's styrofoam and plastic and some timber. But the aesthetics are just, most houses are 1970s and they look like a robot like mine coming out of the ground, just ugly,
yeah.
horrid, split entry, and then in Dundas, when I was there, we walked around all of the town, and it's, like I say, you'd have to have some money to be able to afford to live there. But it was so inspiring. I was just getting inspired the whole time with the
Mm,
wisterias and the water fountains and the bird life and the plants and the houses that have got that colonial, early settler type look with the porch,
mm,
and then you've got the Cape Cod and the shingles, and you realize it can be done here. It can be done, but
mhm,
we, and I'm sure it's the same in England. That globalization and that just like cheap IKEA winners, TK Maxx, whatever the thing
mm,
is, trendiness has probably taken over a lot of places. And
mhm,
just looking at these cottages in England, I just felt a sense of I just get it. I'm like, I really long for that. And I can create it here. It is possible because I've seen it. I just saw it last week in Dundas.
mm,
I've seen it in Montana
mhm,
what I think it is it's almost like appreciating the sacred of objects that mean something, that, oh, I picked this up at a junk yard, but I just instantly felt a connection with it. And that's how people are talking about these objects. It's like, that's cool. I like that.
yeah. I
It,
mean, I think it's like if you go to Vancouver, there's some amazing houses and amazing parts of Vancouver, and beautiful. Like Pip, who works for me, she's taken this old Vancouver house and just brought it back to life, and there's all these multicolored sidings, and there's some beautiful homes for sure. And I wonder what the mentality. Um, I guess there's two mentalities, right? There's one that's like lipstick on the pig almost, like I just want it to make like kind of brush the dust under the carpet type of mentality, where it's I just want to buy some IKEA furniture just to make it look good for now,
mm,
but it's not going to really last, but I just need something to soothe it. And then there's the other mentality of like, this is going to take me 3 or 4 months to do, but it's going to
mm,
way outlast and have way more meaning. And it's
mm.
that meaningful kind of mindset of when you're building your home or building your surround, doing it with some type of meaning, putting the extra work
Mm.
in, because to get some of that beauty that you're talking about takes effort, much more effort, like
Mm.
twice the effort. Way easier
Yeah.
to order a coffee table on Amazon and
Mm.
it will soothe you for a little
Mm.
bit, but then it becomes
It's
quickly
functional.
outdated. Yeah, but
But then we're so caught
I
up.
like going to homes where it's like where the people have done a full send on whatever. Like that people say, oh, when I said I moved from England to Arkansas, people will roll their eyes like, oh my God, that must have been horrible. And I say, always say, no, it was amazing
Mm.
because it was a full culture. It was like
Mm.
rodeos, big trucks, cowboy boots, belt
Yeah.
buckles, country music. It was all of it. It wasn't like going to Toronto and then seeing the odd guy walking around with a cowboy hat and you're like, "Oh, that looks
Mm.
random and weird. What are you
Mm.
doing here?"
It
It
was
was
full
like everything
immersion.
was like that. Yeah, so a full immersion to probably any culture.
Mm.
Like if you go into one of like I remember Jen's aunts were super into like, you know, the Elvis kind of era. And
Yeah.
so everything is 1950s
Yeah.
Elvis, you know,
Yeah.
really tacky mirrors with like Elvis
Yeah.
etched on them
Kitsch. Yeah.
and there's nothing about it that turns me off when they're fully in it,
Yeah.
you know, and it's
You
like, "This is us, and
respect.
we're fully proud of it."
You're all
Yeah,
in.
it's not try hard, it's like, "This is us," and I
Yeah.
think that as kids, you kind of you love that. Yeah, people walk
Mm.
into our house and they're like, I think it's cluttered and chaos, but people walk in and think, "Oh, it
Mm.
feels so inviting and warm,
Yeah,
and
well,
there's
it's
so much to
interesting,
look
isn't
at."
it? Yeah, like my
Yeah.
kids say our house is like the Weasley house, especially at Christmas, because it's just jam-packed. And by the end of
Mhm.
Christmas, my skin's just itching because I want to declutter. And that's
Yeah.
why I was kind of challenged when I was watching these shows, because I've got this aversion, like you, to clutter. But I realize
Yeah.
that when people, my kids will bring back friends and they'll walk in and go, whoa, they like the aesthetics, they like it. And I realized,
Mm.
like, my realtor will say, I'm in her house right now. Everything's white on white on white. And wherever I go, I always wallpaper. And that's such an English thing to do, is wallpaper. Now, for
Mm.
resale, it's terrible because you meant to have
Mm.
like big open spaces and clean. And when I was watching these shows last night, the mixture of textiles and like nothing matched. It was that, and that was part of the joy. They're like, we want to make sure basically nothing matches. You've got floral
Mhm.
wallpaper, you've got checkers, you've got just like a mashup of things that you think wouldn't work. And then you look back and go, looks awesome, looks so cool. But that's
Mm.
like English style. Then if you went to Mexico, it would be lots of clay. You know, they love their clay pots and their ceramic stuff. And it's got a different,
Mm.
like you say, I don't care what it is, as long as you're all in and you just do it
Mm.
unapologetically. And
Mm.
probably your Arkansas experience was my Montana experience, where they do have a culture, actually. You know, you go there and you're like,
Mm.
whoa, I've never seen this before. And
Mm.
their love of authentic native objects. And, you
Mm.
know, I just really, really, I love it. It's like very, I suppose Ralph Lauren loves all that, the Aztec,
What
the turquoise stones and stuff.
mm. Yeah, I
So
mean,
go
I
ahead.
think we're however much we try and, you know, the melting pot versus tribe, you know, the melting pot's just not working. It doesn't work. Like people want tribe. Like, what's my tribe? And then when you go visit a tribe, say it's the Aztec or the, you know, whatever it might be, it's cool. Like we love it because it's like
Mm,
authentic. Like as human beings, we can smell out a fake a
mm,
mile away, you know?
yeah.
It's like Amelia's listening, like when I pick her up from dance, she puts her music on, the first thing she does in the car. I don't know if your kids are the same. It's like, unplug my
Mm,
stereo, put my
yeah.
music on. It's got to be my music.
Cheeky.
And, yeah.
Yeah, they
And,
do the same.
yeah, I picked her up the other day and she's like, do you want me to put my music on, Dad? I'm like, no, I'm enjoying mine actually. And she just cold shouldered me the whole way home. Yeah, she's just like out the side
Well,
window.
she's probably
And
thinking, note to self, don't ask next time, just put her music on. Don't bother asking him.
yeah, yeah. But I'm listening to music and it's all like kind of like not folky, but quirky and melody and it's just like fascinating to me that she likes this actually pretty cool music, but no one's really steered her. She's like
Mm.
finding this. It's not like it's kind of music I would go listen to,
Yeah,
but we
you
don't have a
say
lot of
that,
music on in the house.
but when I've been to see you, you have like music playing way more than I do. Um,
Oh,
Certainly
really?
you did when I'd see you in North Van, and it is. I mean, that would just she would have been it. That's her oxygen. Like she's raised on your taste in music, and like my children,
Yeah, I guess it's
they like
infiltrated.
Radiohead. They love English depressing music. I mean, they also like The Weekend and Rihanna and all that crap, but their taste, I've exposed them to, they love Bon Iver. Um, and that's just been an influence that you
Yeah,
can't help, but we don't
yeah.
realize we're doing it, but it's undeniable.
No, I remember Raven saying there that he was like, "Oh yeah, if I want to feel nostalgic, I put Radiohead on." And same with Jazzy,
Really? Yeah.
because it reminds them. Because when they were kids, I was writing a lot of music, and I was listening to a lot of music, and they sit in the
Mm.
baby seat in the back, and it would all be Brit rock.
Slit your
Um,
wrists music.
I know. We watched a movie last night, and Perfect Storm came up and Gabe's like, "The worst movie ever," because everyone
Yeah.
dies in Perfect Storm, right?
Yeah.
And they're just like, I'm like, no, it's not. It's a great movie. And they just look at me like, how can you say that's a great movie? Everyone dies. And it's like
Perfect.
something I like that. It's like,
Mm,
Dad, your music's so depressing. I'm like, no, it's not. It makes me feel good. Like it's
mm,
so random, right?
yeah.
But yeah, the call back to I guess yeah, you've kind of flown the nest and experimented in all these different types, and then really you just come back to home, which is like I want a cottage with. I mean, even with gardening, Tara watches this gardening show. I think it's a British one that Mum introduced her to, and she wanted this formal, like everything in a straight line, and then she realized, and I'm hearing this more and more, this wilding type of gardening where you have you put plants together that can coexist together, and
Mm,
it looks somewhat chaotic,
yeah.
but it's got its own beauty in the
Yeah.
chaos. And I'm hearing about a lot of farmers. I think there's a famous farm in England that you can go see now, and it was like generational farm. And then when this guy inherited it, he was just so done with the energy it took to keep everything proper. And he just is
Mm,
like, I'm gonna. And I think the lady, she gave it like 2 years, just let it run wild. And she just said, and then the neighbors were losing their minds. So like, this
mm,
farm was beautiful until you got it, and
mm,
everything just grew crazy. And then all the animals came back, and all the birds came back, and she would want. And then she started to see that, oh, if we keep the chestnut tree in, the chestnut tree introduces these very rare squirrels. But then, so
mm,
and now they've kind of created this farm that obviously the invasive species have maybe gone, but
mm,
it's like when you walk in nature, it's wild and beautiful. And there's
mm,
something in humans that wants straight lines. I feel that wants
mm,
straight lines and order.
definitely.
And it's like
Yeah.
somehow tweaking that little radio signal inside where you can see a different side of beauty.
Mm.
Um,
Yeah, I think my
that's actually
takeaway is
probably easier.
uh, I think the takeaway for me, having just the last few weeks of being exposed to some old homes, beautiful homes, and then watching these shows, is just not being apologetic about it, because these people are so not apologetic about their whatever their thing is. They're just embracing it. And I mean, you and I are both very creative, and I think the home is probably the best place to showcase and to put your energy into something creative. And not everyone has that interest. Um, but
Mm,
I'm just coming back to it going, actually, it's really valuable. It's not of no
mm,
value. It is of high value. And, um, and I think other people appreciate it. And it's just, yeah, I want to kind of double down on it, I suppose. And just, especially going into
I'm
winter
noticing
where you
more and more with,
go ahead.
sorry, going into winter.
Well, just where I'm more home based and won't be able to do much yard work. I'm now thinking, okay, how can I recreate
Mm,
this space and put more
mm,
more of myself into it rather than just
mm.
maintenance, because life for the most
Yeah, I
part
always,
I'm just maintaining.
yeah. I mean, I'm in the business of homes, right? And I always have said, this is a reflection of who you are, this home. Like, and the funny thing is when you go buy a house, it's generally not brand new. It's had someone else's personality. And so now,
Mm,
now the task is to like move it all around so it reflects you. And that's why you can kind of strip the old homes as like different layers of wallpaper and different this and different eras
mm,
and different fashions. And I mean, that was so cool about renovating a home in England is you'd go through hundreds of years of fashion change as you layered
mm,
to tear the wallpaper off and the fireplaces out. And you'd find, oh,
yeah,
there's a 1980s fireplace. And then
yeah, yeah,
um, I, I'm noticing more and more that people want, because there was years and years and years where everyone wanted all the walls removed and everything to be massive and open. And I'm
mm,
noticing more and more people say, well, we kind of like having a separate living room
mm,
and a separate kitchen.
yeah,
And so there's this like slow turn back to
mm,
having some separation in the home, the different
yeah,
rooms instead of having one massive open space.
yeah,
Yeah, and I wonder if there's a play, like in where you can double down on that, where it's like, yeah, more wallpaper, more cozy, more small,
mm,
instead of
yeah.
this big modern blow out all the walls, put windows everywhere, and
Well, that's what I'm realizing
have all the
in newer
space you can dream.
homes. There's so much windows that there's no wall space for art. That's a challenge with modern
Mm,
homes where it's open concept and you've got these cathedral ceilings and it's just, we just want one sheet of glass and there's literally no room for art. And then with the open concept,
mhm,
there's no, I think I love nooks. Like I love a nook. So these little quiet corners where you can just go to, whereas in open
mm.
concept, you don't have the nook. You have echoey. It's often very echoey and doesn't feel cozy, like you say. And
You're turning into mum,
I am, but I think based
the
on how
thinkery.
yeah, exactly. No, I think it's more. I've always been a bit like that because my home right now has naturally gravitated towards having these, being cozy because it's a small home, so I can't help it anyway. But I would actually find it more daunting, like what you've done a new build. I would have preferred the challenge of making the existing thing work than blowing it out and making a big home.
Mm,
Because I think for me, if someone says, what's your dream home? Just design it from scratch. That's really overwhelming. And,
mm.
like I quite like the challenge of making something that already exists work.
I like that
Intriguing.
too. I mean, I like
Mm,
using the materials that I have, like the
yeah.
ugly house. I should have really just leveled it, but
Yeah.
yeah, using what you have, I think it's a great challenge. It's fun,
Yeah. So much
you know.
fun. Yeah.
Yeah,
Fascinating.
because it's more challenging, right? You're like,
Yeah.
yeah, you have to think a bit harder.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. So we've
cool.
covered that.
Interior design podcast.
Interior chef. Who saw that one coming? How
I
bizarre.
know. I know. I was making my coffee this morning. I'm like, I don't know what the hell we're going to talk about.
And then after is interior design. Completely random, not
Yeah,
what's going on with the world,
randomness.
but wallpaper and textiles.
Yeah, and all the
Yeah,
while,
fascinating.
I've kind of unplugged from the Charlie Kirk story. We were
Oh,
so into it, and
totally.
then all of a sudden, I think that I've noticed that I'm a bit PTSD from.
Trucker
I don't know if
convoy.
it's PTSD. That's kind of. I guess so. All that COVID and everything is like. I feel like it's worked. What the government is doing has worked.
Mm.
Like they've so overplayed their hand to the point where we're just repulsed by it, and we're kind of like, it's like, when you have a rebellious child, and after a while you're just like, just do what you want.
Love it.
I can't fight with you anymore. Just do what the fuck you
Yeah,
want. And they're like,
yeah.
you're hoping they're going to be like, no, actually, I do want to do what you want. It's like, and then they're like, woo, all right then,
Yeah.
and I think the government have this like, there's this thing. It's like if we just do it so much, they'll just get on with their lives and let us run rampant because they know that we're the rebellious, dysfunctional government that we are.
Mm.
And I feel myself just saying, just just do your thing.
Yeah.
Fuck with us all. I'm learning right now, and this is really depressing. Being in Canada, but you know that because there's my neighbor just lost his mom, and then my other good friend in town lives on 60 acres, and he's an only child, and he's trying to figure out what happens if my mum dies, what happens with all this. So he's starting to deep dive into the estate. And you know that, and he said, so he lives on a 60-acre farm with no mortgage. And so when they bought the farm, it was probably 400,000. Now it's probably worth 2.5 million, just because the property has gone up in value.
Mm.
And he said, if my mom died tomorrow, I would have to sell the farm to pay the taxes that come into play. So they're completely debt free. So the death tax, and then the tax, and then I think it's like if the value of a property's gone up and she leaves it to him, so she leaves everything to him in the will, you have to pay tax on that gift.
Yeah. And you
Huge
can't,
tax. So he would have to pay close to $1 million, and he'd be forced to sell the farm to pay the tax on the gift that his mum is giving him. Is
yeah,
that crazy?
I know. And you can't make it a trust either anymore. So basically they tax you. Let's say you set up a trust and entrusted that property to your children, they would still have to pay tax, because that used to be how the loophole is, that you set up these trusts and that prevents your children from having to pay. Basically, it's capital gains, isn't it? Is
Right, but then it would be like an RSP. When you did draw out the money, it would be taxed
mm,
incrementally, maybe. But the
yeah,
thing is, like with Tara, who's an only child, I'm like, it's kind of weird, because you have to broach the subject with your folks and say,
mm,
you're getting to the time in your life when you're probably going to
mm,
pop your clogs one day or another. We need to talk about how I'm going to get what you've worked for.
mm,
It's really raw, you
mm.
know.
So is
And
there a way around it?
it's well, that's what we're trying to. I mean, I've got a lawyer who did our will, and he's a wills and estates guy, and I'm sure there is, from what I hear, and my friend's just been doing ChatGTP deep dives, but it's very ChatGTP will only tell you the legal way to do it, but there is
Mm,
workarounds probably.
mm,
It sounds like maybe one way to do it is to sell your property to your children for a song.
mm.
So you have to put it into their name before you die.
You have to know. I thought it
Um,
has to be 7 years before you die, and you have to know, like, her parents might want to do it soonish. There is a time. I think there is something along those lines where it has to be within a
yeah,
certain
it's like the
time frame.
government has thought about that, right?
It's
I think it's
ridiculous.
well, I was talking about it when we were at coffee, and I was absolutely disgraced. Like, me and my friends were like
Mm,
in absolute disgust. Like, so you slave all the way, you work hard all your life to leave this nest egg for your children, and then the government still fucks you.
mm,
You can go to
yeah,
countries where they just don't have death tax, and they don't have all this
mm,
tax, like probably Texas and Mexico and
yeah,
these
yeah,
different countries.
yeah,
And it's disgraceful that
yeah,
even on your deathbed, they're they're
yeah,
they're creaming money from you. Like, you've paid
yeah.
taxes your whole life, and then they want an extra lump sum when you pop your clogs.
Well, like when you hear what's the average age that someone lives after retirement, 3 years. So let's say you've worked till 70, because apparently in England, the retirement age has gone up to something like 75, which is just disgraceful. So people are expected to
Yeah.
work until they're 75. Meanwhile, my Saudi Arabian friend says everyone in Saudi Arabia retires by 55. They're done. By your age, you would be close
Mhm.
to retirement. But so basically, if you live, so you work hard all your life paying into a pension fund, and then the average age is 3 years after you retire.
Mhm.
So you only get 3 years worth, and then the government takes the rest. If you're,
Mm.
if you
The
don't
house
have a
always wins,
partner.
right?
Yeah, it's really disgusting. I mean, Canada has to be one of the worst places in the
And I
world for
think I
this.
think no, it
You
is.
don't think it
Yeah,
is?
that's what
Yeah.
my friend Adam was saying. He looked at it, he said Canada's, yeah, he's like one of the worst. And I think most people don't think about it because it's an awful subject to be talking about. Like, my neighbor just lost his mum, and I think there's two other siblings. He helped draw the will up for his mum because she had like some disease. He said COVID killed her, not the actual disease, but the separation where no one was allowed to
Okay.
visit. And after then
Yeah.
her decline just,
Isolation.
the isolation. And yeah, he said, like, literally it's only days old since she's died, and he's like, I just found out that I'm not the beneficiary of everything. It's her boyfriend, and it's just an absolute shit show.
Whoa.
It's kind of like, your house catches fire, you pay this massive insurance premium, or there's a hurricane or something, some natural disaster, and then the insurance, again, the house wins. They're like, yeah, you're not
Mm,
covered for this specific type of accident. You know, like in South
mm,
Carolina when all those houses got leveled by a
mm.
mudslide, the insurance,
Yeah,
they found a loophole,
it's
you
just
know, and it's like
disgraceful.
you have to have insurance legally to be able to
Mm,
own a home, but when you go and claim on it, they'll fight tooth and nail to not give you any money.
mm,
It's just such a depressing racket.
Yeah,
But
I'd be really
it's a
curious to.
conversation that needs to be had, you know, like with our older, well, and even thinking for ourselves what we're going to leave for our kids,
Yeah.
because it really is it can be a massive leg up for the children, right?
Yeah, I don't know whether there's a time where they come of age and you can add them to the mortgage, at quite a early stage where you say, I want you to, I don't know. But, really it's
Mhm.
something that we need to think about for our kids more than anything, which I'd really be interested if you make any headway on that. Because, my own home, I definitely want to leave to the children. But how does that play out? They'd probably have to remortgage the whole thing just to pay the taxes. And then they'd be left with, it wouldn't be a mortgage free home.
You went.
Well, maybe we should wrap it up.
Yes. Get your will in order, folks,
Yeah.
and make
Anyone
your,
know anything about this? Let us know
yeah,
before we
and the
go and slit
comment.
our wrists
Yeah, I
and
know.
get depressed over the state of Canada.
And make your home an authentic reflection of who you are.
Yeah. Top tips.
Fuck the resale. Just
Yeah.
just make it you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Toodle pip.
All right. Love you,
All
Abby.
right. Love you. Bye.
Bye.